Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the final week of Season 3 of the Lyons Den Quiz League. Apologies again for how late this is going out. This probably won't be, hopefully, too much later than the actual deadline for this, but weeks 2 through 4 are like super late because I got lazy with the having to edit and everything. It was just a mess. Totally my fault, so I apologize for that. So hopefully we're close to back on schedule once this video comes out. But there will be a championship for the league that will be coming up. I don't know whether I'll be able to record it or not. I'm going to have to figure that out with Benny and Looney. But it might be possible to record. But anyway, I will be playing in the championship because it's going to be the top 20 players for the season, and I'm solidly top 20. I'm even ninth with 4 weeks played instead of 5, so I'm doing fine here. Anyway, we're headed into week 5, and this is going to be an interesting one because these are actually user-submitted quizzes, as in not Benny and Looney, but other people who play the league, which is super cool. So our first quiz is called Chess Pieces, and it's by Mr. Pi. So we will get right into this. Starting with standing 70 to 100 centimeters tall, the king penguin is the second largest species of penguin, second only to the emperor penguin. Yeah, the emperor penguin is just a thing. I think this is pretty easy. That's just sort of a well-known thing. Question 2, Queen, I'll just say Margaret because I'm not like Margrethe or something. I don't know how to say it exactly, but Queen Margaret II, she abdicated from the throne, and she reigned over what country has the oldest monarchy in Europe, dating back over 1,000 years. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think it's Denmark. I don't know about the whole abdication thing, but I am pretty sure that Denmark had or has, I guess had a queen with that name, because it sort of just sounds familiar to me. I'm pretty sure it's not Norway, because it's like Harald V, and then Sweden, I think, has a monarch too. Sweden is the one that might be the answer, but I feel like Sweden has a king as well, rather than a queen, as like the main regnant. I'm not sure, to be 100% honest, but the name sounds more Scandinavian to me, so I figure Denmark is just the best answer here. Question 3, in chess, the rook can move in straight lines as long as it wants, blah, 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 is able to castle with the king, allowing both pieces to move at the same time. And so the notation for castling in chess is O-O, or O-O-O. That's for queenside, but either one. Yeah, I played chess for many years, so that's doable enough. Question 4, which bishop won Nobel Peace Prize in 1984 for his role as a unifying leader figure in the nonviolent campaign to resolve the problem of apartheid in South Africa? This should be Desmond Tutu. I think he's just commonly known as like Bishop Desmond Tutu. There are a couple other important figures in the anti-apartheid movement, but I'm pretty sure Tutu is the guy who was a bishop, and he definitely won the Peace Prize as well. Question 5. A musician who got knighted in 1997, one of the richest musicians on the planet, with a net worth of over $1 billion. Despite a successful solo career, he's best known for being part of a group. My first and only thought here is just Paul McCartney. It would make sense if he's worth a lot of money. He's obviously best known for being a Beatle, but also did have a successful solo career. And knighted makes sense because he'd have to be British, so that is surely the answer there. And then question 6, Pawn Stars follows a family shop in which city, which is host to an NHL team, despite being located in a desert. So I have no idea what this show is. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. But the only desert cities with NHL teams in them, as far as I am aware, are Las Vegas and Phoenix. And I guess you could count LA, but I doubt it's going to be LA, because I don't know if I would describe LA as being located in a desert, although maybe it's technically not totally wrong, sort of. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. But the NHL team from Phoenix just left, so I feel like it's dubious to have a clue that says an NHL team located in a desert if they're technically not located there anymore because they just moved to Utah. So I think Vegas is just probably the better answer. And, among other things, probably, implies that other things happen in the city, which makes sense for Vegas because it's obviously just has a lot going on. My brain is kind of scattered right now, if you can't tell. But anyway, I'm going to enhance number 4 because I feel like that's not trivial, knowing his name. A lot of people will know it, but I think it's probably the hardest of the bunch that I'm sure about, at least. So I will enhance question 4 and submit. Vegas, McCartney, Tutu, Castling, Denmark, Emperor Penguin. That is 6 out of 6 and a very good start. So a quick note is that this, I mean, knock on wood, but this week I also feel like is quite good for me, which is kind of weird because this seems to keep happening and I'm not sure why this is happening. And I feel like once I get to the championship, I'm going to get all the questions that I don't know. But these weeks have been going very well for me recently, and it feels like it's been going better than seasons 1 and 2. I'm not totally sure why that's happening, because again, I don't feel like I'm getting better at trivia, but heck, maybe I am, I don't know. So, quiz 2 is called Somehow Unique, I believe, and it's by 0xgg, a very interesting quiz. So first, only one integer is such that when its name in English is spelled out, every letter is later in the alphabet than the letter before it. So I just started thinking through numbers. It's not going to be negative anything, so I just kind of started counting up and I figured eventually I would hit it. And I did eventually hit it. I got to 40. So F comes before O, comes before R, and then T, then Y in the alphabet. And there are apparently no other integers that do that. Question 2. So far, there have been no less than 9 cities that have hosted multiple Olympics. There's only been one city that has hosted both a summer and a winter. This, I believe, should be Beijing. I am 100% confident that Beijing hosted the Summer Olympics in 2008, and I think they hosted the Winter Olympics in 22, which is, I mean, this is literally like 2 years ago, so I should probably know that, but I don't pay any attention to the Olympics, so I'm actually not 100% sure that the Winter Olympics were in Beijing in 22, but I'm pretty sure, like I'm reasonably confident that that's the case, and I can't think of any other answers here anyway. So Beijing it is. Question 3. Oh my god, this question drove me nuts. I might pull up a whiteboard just to quickly explain what I did on this question, but yeah, let me just do that and be right back. All right, so question 3 asks, it says, the factorial is a mathematical operation defined for non-negative integers as follows. 0 factorial is 1, and then the factorial of a positive integer is the product of the integers from 1 to that integer. So 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is 24, is the factorial of 4. Name the only 5-digit number that is equal to the sum of its digits factorials. Now, this was miserable because, you know, I'm not allowed a calculator or anything for this. And I was trying to think of any decent method for this other than just kind of plugging and chugging, and I didn't really think of anything, so it ended up taking me a really long time to come across the answer. So I'm going to quickly explain what I tried to do here. So here's a list of the factorials from 0 to 8. Anything above 8 gives you a 6-digit number, and that is completely irrelevant to the problem because it would be too big. So, okay, so I'm thinking we have to make a 5-digit number here. So one way to do that would be to have one of the digits or two of the digits be 8, because that would give you like 40,000 or 80,000. The other way would be to have multiple 7s, and then otherwise there's no way to make a 5-digit number. So the first thing I tried was to think of a number that had 2 7s in it. So hopefully, I mean, I'm sorry if you're not able to follow because this is kind of just weird and complicated. But first, for example, I tried something like 10,077. So if it has 2 7s, the factorials of the 7s add up to 10,080, right? Which is 2 times 5,040. So I was trying to fiddle around with something with 2 7s. The 7s would have to be near the end of the number because if they're too far up, then they're going to, you know, influence the value of the number way too much. The sum of the factorials of these 5 numbers is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5,040 twice, which is actually quite close. Gives you 10,083. But obviously it's not the answer. And I fiddled around with this 2 7 scenario a couple other ways. I mean, 10,177 obviously gives you the same problem. If you move one of the 7s to the hundreds digit, then it's 10,700, and there's no way to really recover that. I mean, you can try like 767, but that doesn't work either. And then 17,000 would just be too big, so it just doesn't really make any sense. So that eliminated the multiple sevens case, but again, it took me a lot of thinking just to get to this point at all. So I'm thinking, okay, if it's not sevens, then there has to be an 8 somewhere in the answer. There can be either 1 8 or 2 8s, because either of those would add up to be a 5-digit number. The problem is the case that I tried first was the 2 8s case, because it made sense, because obviously 2 times this gives you 80,640. So the idea that this number here has an 8 at the beginning was like appealing to me, because it was like, okay, then I can start a number with 8 and then try and figure out what the other digits are, have one more 8 in there, and then it might work. So I was trying things for a while here. I mean, I have some notes next to me. I'm not gonna go through these in too much detail, but basically I was trying to create a number that was like, something like 80,000, like, I tried to put an 8 here, and then I tried to put an 8 here, and I was like fiddling with it, moving the 8 around, trying to get the other digits to agree, and I got close a couple of times. I think like 81,386 was pretty close. So this gives you 80,640 plus 6 factorial, so 720, which is 81,000, 360 plus 6 plus 1. So that gives you like 81. Dude, I can't even do mental math right now. My brain is too broken. I spent too long like thinking about this problem, and it just like messed me up, man. I think it gives you let's see, 8640 plus 720, so 81,360. Yeah, plus 6. So it gives you like 367 or something. Again, close, but no cigar. I tried this with a couple more things. I tried 85,000, 86,000, like I was trying to add in like 5 factorial and 6 factorial, but none of them gave me anything that lined up. So I finally gave up on the 2 8 scenario and tried the dreaded 1 8 scenario. And I was really worried about this because there were just a lot of things to check. But I just started doing it, and eventually something happened. So, oh my God. So I'm thinking, okay, it probably starts with a 4, because 8 factorial is 40,320. So, I mean, unless there's like a 7 in there or a 6 in there, there's a good chance it's going to start with a 4. It's not going to be 48,000. So I'm like, okay, like it's going to look something like this, and there's going to be an 8 somewhere in these last few digits. So again, I just started kind of plugging and chugging. I started with 40,000, and I was like, okay, what can I do with this? Like, if it's 40,320 and I want to like get it up to a certain, and there has to be an 8 in here somewhere. 40,800 doesn't work because you can't add like 500. There's just nothing in here that does that for you. So I tried putting the 8 here, for example, and then I started trying something like 40,000, like 485 is something that I've written down here. And this got me pretty close. This gives you 4 factorial 24 twice, so 48, plus 120, so 168 plus 40,320, which gives you 40,488, which is only 3 away. So again, really close, and I tried this. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, I'm so close here, and I keep missing the thing. And I was also worried that I was going to skip over the right thing because there were so many cases to check, and like I might have just missed something. But anyway, I kept plugging and chugging, and I eventually came to 40,585. And then I added this up, and thank God it worked. So this gives you 4 factorial, which is 24. Plus 0 factorial, which is 1, plus 5 factorial twice, 2 times 120, plus, of course, 8 factorial, 40,320. And this is 40,320 plus 240 is 40,560, plus 1 plus 24, 560 plus 25 is 585, so 40,585. So finally, after just a whole lot of guess and check, I came up with this, and this was, well, this should be the final answer. But my God, I have to say that problem was really rough because if there was a shortcut to that, I would love to know what it was. But I did not think of anything. And that was some really painful guessing and checking, especially because I started with the cases that were wrong, and the ones that, like, I ended up checking the right thing quite late. So it was kind of unlucky that I happened upon it so late in the process, but I finally got there. Anyway, miserable problem. Question 4. In general, an element on the nth period of the periodic table has at least one electron in the nth electron shell of its ground state electron configuration. Give the name or atomic number of the only element for which this is not true. I am so confused by this problem. This question, I don't know what's going on here. Because literally the first period is the first row of the periodic table. And it's like hydrogen and helium, and hydrogen has one electron in like the s orbital, and helium has two. So those are both in the first shell, so it makes sense. And then everything in the second row is like the s orbitals and the p orbitals for the second shell, and then the third row is the third shell. And it's like, that's how the periodic table works. I don't understand how there's an element that doesn't obey this principle. There must just be some weird, I don't know, some weird exception, some element where the electrons just do something that they're not supposed to do. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's mined alongside nickel. I don't know what catalyzes the Heck reaction. So, to heck with it. I'm just going to guess a random element, and I'll go with... I haven't even decided what I'm going to guess. I'll go with... Let's go with tin. But I have literally no idea. Question 5. The U.S. state of Colorado shares 2 letters with its state capital of Denver, DNR. There is one U.S. state whose name shares 0 letters with its state capital. This should be South Dakota. It took me a while to think of this, but South Dakota does not, if I just write this alongside it, does not share any letters with its capital. There are no P's, I's, E's, or R's in South Dakota. So that should be the answer there. And then the Vietnamese language has all kinds of diacritics, but most of them are used on vowels. There's only one consonant in Vietnamese that has a diacritic. And I actually know this because in the Discord server of the guy who wrote this quiz, there was, once upon a time at least, there was a fact at the top of his language channel that was like, this is the only letter in Vietnamese, the only consonant in Vietnamese that has a diacritic. And there's a D of Vietnamese has a crossed D, so a D with a little horizontal cross through it. So D should be the answer here, and then I'm going to enhance number 3 because it was horrible, and surely most people will not have the patience to sit through what I did on that one. So let's go with 3 and submit the quiz. Here's the CAPTCHA. Couldn't avoid it for too long. D is correct. South Dakota. Palladium. What the heck, man? 40... Beijing, 40,585. That is what I put. Okay, 5 out of 6. Palladium I was never getting. That's just I don't know. That's just a fact about an element that I did not know. And I don't think there's much of a way to get that. I mean, unless you know what the Heck reaction is, but I don't. So, 5 out of 6. Still solid. And quiz 3, the pop culture quiz written by Sheepy. It's an actor spotlight on Giancarlo Esposito. His most well-known role was Gustavo Fring in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, where he, quote-unquote, worked for Los Pollos Hermanos. That is, I've seen Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, so that's just easy for me. Question 2, he got his start as an actor in a number of musicals, including Merrily We Roll Along by a famous composer and playwright who also did Into the Woods and Sweeney Todd. Not sure here, but I don't know a lot of Broadway people. When I think of Broadway, the names that come to mind are Sondheim and Bernstein. And I think I'm just going to go with Sondheim. This is a guess, but I feel like he's so famous and did so many musicals and things that it would just make sense for it to be him. Bernstein is possible, but I don't know. I feel like most of the time when there's a Broadway question, I just say Sondheim and it works most of the time. So that's just what I'm going to go with here. Question 3, He was cast in the Henry Selick film Monkey Bone, surrealist black comedy following a cartoonist trapped in a limbo dream world full of mythical beings. He is the ruler of Dreamtown, a demonic and twisted version of this Greek god who ruled over the realms of sleep and dreaming. So this should be Hypnos. I don't know anything about this TV show, but the Greek god of sleep is Hypnos. So yeah. Good thing I just know a lot of, I know a lot of myth because I did a lot of classics in college and stuff. So that should be the answer there. I hope there's not another one. Question 4. He did a lot of voice acting, including the live-action Jungle Book. He served as the voice of the leader of the Wolfpack and Mentor 2, Mowgli, which is the name of the kid in the Jungle Book, unless they changed the name of the kid for the live-action movie. I hope they didn't do that. Question 5. He was in The Mandalorian. He plays Moff Gideon, who seeks to exploit the Mandalorian's young companion Grogu, who became a ubiquitous pop culture phenomenon known by one far more common nickname. Not 100% sure on this, but I'm thinking of characters from The Mandalorian. I mean, I haven't seen The Mandalorian, but I'm thinking of Star Wars characters that became pop culture phenomena, and the thing that came to mind was just Baby Yoda, because Baby Yoda I feel like is everywhere, on the internet, so it makes a lot of sense that his young companion would be Baby Yoda. And then finally, question 6. His acting career is still ongoing. He's been cast in a number of upcoming things. The previous Captain America trilogy starred Chris Evans. The upcoming film stars this American actor as the new Captain America. He also had important roles, he or she, I guess, also had important roles in The Hurt Locker and The Hate U Give. I have no idea. The only actor I can name from either of those two movies is Amanda Stenberg. She's I think the protagonist in The Hate U Give. This is almost certainly wrong because I think the actor being referred to here is a man, but I'm not sure because actor can be, the word actor can refer to men and women. So it could be her, and I have no idea who else is in these movies, so I don't have a better guess. I think this is wrong, but you know what? Just going to go with it because I got nothing better. And then I will enhance probably Hypnos, because this is again, this is reasonably obscure, I feel, as Greek myth goes, and the rest of these I don't think are particularly hard, so I think 3's got to be the one here. All right, more stairs. Presumably those don't count. All right, Anthony Mackie. I've never heard of that man in my life, but the others are correct. Nice. Okay, 5 out of 6 again for a pop culture quiz. That is fantastic. So this is going very well so far. Quiz 4 is an audio quiz. This is going to get me demonetized, but I haven't even bothered to monetize this channel yet. So it's whatever. I'm going to play the clips. Let me pause the recording while I set it up. Okay, so this quiz asks us to identify the country of origin of the artist singing. So number 1 sounds like this. Hopefully it works. And there's no info on screen. Good, yeah. All right, certified banger, by the way. I don't know the song, but this should be Mongolia, because it sounds like throat singing, and there's that band called The Who or the HU or whatever that does, they sound a lot like that. I've heard a couple songs from them. Yeah, good stuff, but that's probably the one I feel most confident about. The rest are actually pretty tricky. Question 2 is this.
You be there.
Okay, so this one I spent a little while on. It sounds to me like a Romance language, I don't know, just the general sort of way that the language sounds, and the lines ending in like fuare, like mare, suare kind of thing. But the weird thing is that it doesn't sound familiar to me. It kind of sounds like Italian, especially like mare, like sounds very Italian. But the other lines, like suare, that doesn't sound like Italian to me. So I'm thinking if it's a Romance sounding language and I don't know what it is and it sounds vaguely Italian, I feel like I should just guess Romanian because, or Romania rather, because it feels like it could work, and that's just what it sounds the most like to me. I mean, it better not be like Moldova or something. It could be Italian, or it could be some other thing, or maybe I'm completely misidentifying it. The thing is, like, we had a quiz earlier. If it was, I don't know if it was this season or last season, but it was like identify the language from the speech. That was like, I found that a little more doable. It still wasn't easy, but when they're singing, it's harder. It's a lot harder to pick up what's actually going on. So anyway, I found this quiz to be pretty difficult. So Romania is a guess, but that's what I'm going to go with. Question 3.
ลิ้นกับฟันพบกันทีไรก็เรื่องใหญ่น้ำกับไฟถ้าไกลกันได้ก็ดี
So this one confuses the heck out of me. At first I thought it was like Finnish or something because it was like the sounds sort of sounded Finnish, if that makes any sense. But then there were kind of a couple sounds that didn't sound Finnish, and I started to think, is this like just completely something else? So I thought it could be like an Asian language, because when I listened to it again, it sounded kind of like, could this be like, I don't know, like Indonesian or Thai or something like that. But at the end of the day, I have no idea. I'm going to try Indonesia, because I don't know, it's a big country, but I don't know. It sounds kind of like an Asian language, but I can't really get anything else out of that clip. So go with that. And then question 4 is this. Okay, so the first like 12 seconds of that clip to me were pretty much unintelligible. I didn't really get anything out of that, but the last 4 seconds were a little more helpful. I'll play them one more time. So that sounded like I heard like passada or whatever at the end, and the first bit was like masquinada or something, and it sounds Portuguese to me. Like mash could be like mas, because like obviously Portuguese the S kind of becomes a sh. So like masquinada is what I'm hearing, and it just kind of sounds Portuguese. Again, it's really hard to tell when they're singing, but the question now becomes, is it Brazil or Portugal, if it even is Portuguese? I thought maybe Brazil, because it could be like bossa nova or whatever. It's like a famous genre from there. I don't even know what bossa nova is. Like, I don't listen to this kind of music. But maybe that's what it is. I know that Brazil has a lot of famous music, so it kind of makes sense. But it could be Portugal. What do I know? Or maybe it's not Portuguese at all, and I'm completely misidentifying. Again, kind of tricky. But question 5.
I am feeling good tonight. This thing got me thanking God for life.
Okay, so the first half of that was in a foreign language. The second half of it was in English. And my thought is that it's probably an African language. And I'm thinking, okay, what's a country in Africa that speaks English as well? And my first thought was Nigeria, just because Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. Is that true? It's at least the most populous Anglophone country in Africa. I don't know if the DRC, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I thought of Nigeria and it makes sense, and I feel like there are a lot of other things that could make sense. Like, it could be, like, I don't know, Ghana, or it could be the Gambia, for all I know. But it feels like Nigeria is as good a guess as any, as far as I can tell, because it's like African country that is prominent and speaks English. So I feel like that's just what I have to go with, because I can't think of a better guess. But again, it's really just a total guess, to be honest. And then finally, question 6. Okay, so the first three-fourths of that sounded Asian to me, just with the sort of, I don't know what the instrument is that's actually playing there. But my first thought was like, okay, this could be something Asian. And then the speech kind of sounded like Japanese, like Bokuma Maraga or whatever. Sounded more Japanese than any other East Asian thing, like Korean or Chinese or anything else like that. So I'm probably going to go Japan here. The thing with this quiz is I feel like I could literally have 6 out of 6 here, but I could also have like 1 out of 6. Like, I'm pretty sure Mongolia is right, but the others are just educated guesses based off of what I'm hearing. And yeah, they're really just stabs in the dark. Like, I might enhance number 1 just because of how not confident I feel about anything else in here. It's, it's one thing to identify a spoken language. It's another thing to identify a sung one. And I still feel like I've hopefully done an okay job with it, but it's hard. So I'm going to enhance 1. It's probably easy and probably won't get me that many points, but all of the others could be wrong for all I know. So 1 it is. And we will see what we have here. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, that went better than I ever thought it would. So Thailand, that's unfortunate because I mentioned Thai there. I figured it could be Thai. I just didn't really have any reason to go Thailand or Indonesia or anything else. I mean, there were options there. Maybe Indonesia was dumb because they speak a language that's super similar to Malay, and it's like, if it's unintelligible between Indonesian and Malay, like, how do you know which one it is? So maybe Thailand was a better guess, thinking back on it. The band was not The Who, or the one I mentioned for the Mongolia one, but it was throat singing, so it was definitely Mongolia. And then the rest, I'm very pleasantly surprised by this, because again, I didn't feel great about it. Brazil, I think the logic made sense, that like bossa nova or whatever, and then mais que nada is like literally what I was hearing. Romania was a guess. It was like Romance language, I don't know, let's go with Romania. Nigeria, English-speaking African country, and then Japan just kind of sounded like Japanese. But yeah, this is going very, very well. I will take the headphones off here. And we will head to quiz number 5, written by Zem. It's all about roller coasters. Question 1, what singer rented out Liberty Land Amusement Park in Memphis to ride his favorite roller coaster, the Zippin' Pippin, 8 days before he died? So I thought about this for a bit, and I couldn't think of anything better than just Elvis Presley, which is probably the answer. The problem is I don't really have a good idea of when Elvis died. Like, 77 sounds reasonable, but I feel like it could be earlier than that, or it could be later than that, and it still wouldn't surprise me. But Memphis, Tennessee is like where he lived, so it makes a lot of sense that it would be him. So that is what I'm going with. Question 2, what ride was built for the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago and later exhibited at the World's Fair in St. Louis? it's eponymous, so it's like named after someone, and then there's one in Nanchang and one in Singapore. This should just be a Ferris wheel. I mean, I think this is pretty easy, but it's like presumably Ferris is like the person who invented it. And then I think I have read that it was first, you know, it showed up in World's Fairs and stuff. So anyway, should be the Ferris wheel. Question 3. The Sea Dragon swinging ship ride at Beach Bend Park in Kentucky was once located at Michael Jackson's personal residence and amusement park, which had what name? And then there was an HBO documentary titled Leaving This Place, which was named after a fictional island. I don't know. I was trying to think of fictional islands. I couldn't think of much. Like, I don't think Atlantis is an island. The best thing I thought of was Treasure Island. Like from the Stevenson story, and like, I mean, Treasure Island, there's a sea dragon ship, so like, I don't know, makes sense, I guess, a little bit. But I just don't know what this is. Leaving Treasure Island, I don't know. Sounds like maybe a slightly weird name for a documentary, but I don't know. It could work. I don't have a better guess. Question 4. Olympia Looping is the world's largest portable roller coaster. Its debut appearance was in autumn of 1989 at what event held regularly at a site named Theresienwiese. So this is, I mean, that's clearly a German word. And I'm thinking, what's an event that is held regularly and would be held in autumn? The first thing that came to mind was Oktoberfest, which I think just makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's obviously held in October and I think also September, or is it November? I think it's September. I don't know. Whatever. It's in Munich, so it's obviously German speaking, so it makes perfect sense. Question 5. What Italian model? I'm not even going to read the rest of this question. I have no idea. Like, literally any question that has anything to do with fashion or models, not only am I not going to know the answer, I probably won't have heard of the answer either. So this is just going to be some random dude, and I will guess a random Italian name because I don't think there's any chance. I mean, I don't recognize any of these clues, so I need to just think of an Italian last name. Let's go with, I mean, it could be the namesake of a fashion company, so we'll go with Armani. And then question 6. The fastest roller coaster in the world is an F1 theme ride found at Ferrari World in what city, which overlooks the F1 track, the Yas Marina Circuit. So the Yas Marina Circuit is the only place with Google Street View in Abu Dhabi. I think the golf course also has a tracker, but otherwise Abu Dhabi has no coverage except at the Yas Marina Circuit. So should be Abu Dhabi. And then as for what to enhance, Elvis I think is easy. Ferris wheel is pretty easy. October, I think I enhanced 6 because 3 and 5 are wrong, probably at least, and then the other 3 I think are too easy. So 6 is what I'll go with. And more stairs. Those are stairs as well. All right. I disagree, but okay. You gotta be kidding me. Does this count? What is this nonsense, man? Why don't they choose ones that are like unambiguous? Fabio Lanzoni. I have so never heard of this man. Neverland Ranch. Leaving Neverland. Okay. Never heard of that either, although maybe it's guessable, but I didn't know Neverland was an island. I thought it was just like a fictional land. I never thought about whether it's an island or not. I mean, it makes sense given like Captain Hook and everything, but yeah, I guess in my head Neverland wasn't really an island, so yeah, I wasn't going to get that. I've never seen or read Peter Pan, so that's probably my issue there. But the other 4 are correct, so I will take it. That's pretty much my ceiling there on that quiz, I think. So perfectly solid once again, and we go to quiz number 6, which is a physics quiz written by Rill, which is a good time. Number 1, depending on your method of measurement, the universe seems to be expanding at different rates. This discrepancy is known as the Hubble tension, or the crisis of what subfield of physics concerned with the origin and makeup of the universe. This should be cosmology. I took a semester or a quarter-long class in college that was literally on cosmology, so That helped, I think. I mean, I would probably know what cosmology was anyway, but, you know, it helps to have some familiarity with this kind of stuff because I didn't take that much science outside of that. Certainly not in college, at least. Question 2. When observing galaxies within a cluster, Fritz Zwicky noticed that the cluster did not appear to have sufficient mass to keep the galaxies gravitationally bound. So he proposed the existence of what's still poorly understood material, now believed to make up over a quarter of the universe. So I feel like there are two options here, and they're dark matter and dark energy. I think it's dark matter because I'm trying to remember when we talked about this in again, cosmology class, there's ordinary matter, there's dark matter, and there's dark energy. I think dark energy is the one that is more prevalent. So if this one's just over a quarter, it's probably 30% or something. And in my head, dark energy is most of the pie, and then dark matter is the second biggest part of the pie, and then ordinary matter is the smallest part. I'm just waffling at this point, but I think it's probably dark matter rather than dark energy. Also, people are probably more likely to have heard of dark matter, so I think it makes more sense to ask for that. I know that dark energy is a thing. I think it's the wrong thing because I think the percentages are off. Anyway, question 3. If the quiz writer foolishly drops a ball off of a tall cliff, how far will it fall in 10 seconds if it starts at rest and falls unimpeded for that time? And it's given that the acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. Let me get the whiteboard out again for this because I will talk you through how I thought about this because I didn't know it off the top of my head, but I think hopefully I arrived at the answer. Anyway, be right back. So the first thing I tried to do with this problem was just kind of figure it out directly. I was thinking okay, if the acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meters per second, that means that the velocity is changing by 9.8 meters per second every second. So at 0 seconds, it has a velocity of 0. At 1 second, it has a velocity of 9.8 meters per second, etc., etc. So I was can I just figure it out from there? But I kind of couldn't because it didn't really get me far enough. I was what's the position after 1 second? It's if it goes from 0 meters per second to 9.8 meters per second, how far has it actually fallen? It's not sure because the velocity is changing and it's kind of, anyway, it's confusing. So I eventually ended up having to try something a little more cohesive. So if I go to the whiteboard, what I know, and this is about all I can remember, honestly, from physics, I know that velocity is the time derivative of position, and then acceleration is the time derivative of velocity. So with this information, I was can I find a way to sort of reverse engineer this? Given the acceleration, can I get the position? So obviously, I don't want to say obviously. Most of you probably aren't following this at all, but if you are, anyway, what I figured is, if you use derivatives to get that way, you use integrals to get the other way. So if I have a constant acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, can I go backwards from here? So I figured that as a function of t, if we call velocity some function of t, v of t, this would be the integral of the acceleration with respect to time. That's dt. It's messy because I'm writing with a mouse, but bear with me. So this would just be, in this case, since the acceleration is just a constant, it would literally be the integral of 9.8 with respect to time, which is 9.8 t plus some constant, call it c1. And then if I do the same thing, if I go from velocity to position, the position function would just be the integral of the velocity function, again with respect to time. So this would be the integral of 9.8 t plus c1 dt. I guess I can put this in parentheses to make it a little more clear. So this would give me So 1/2 times 9.8, so 4.9 t squared plus, I guess, c1t plus some constant c2. I hope that we can just assume in this case that these constants are equal to 0 because there's no external nonsense happening and we're throwing it down from a fixed position. So I don't think there's any extra nonsense here, so I think we can not worry about the constants. So basically what this tells me is that the position of the ball being dropped is equal to 4.9 times the square of the number of seconds that has passed. So, in conclusion, by reverse engineering the position function out of the acceleration, if the position function is given by 4.9 t squared, and if t is equal to 10, then it should be 100 times 4.9, which would give you 490. I don't know what the unit is, meters, I guess. So 490 meters would be how far the object has fallen in 10 seconds. So that's kind of how I thought about the question. I hope that's the right way to do it. I think it checks out, but it's possible that I did something wrong along the way. Question number 4. Einstein's best known for his theories of relativity, n equals mc squared, but his singular Nobel Prize came from his work on the photoelectric effect. This is something that comes up in Quiz Bowl quite a lot, the fact that Einstein won the Nobel Prize for this rather than everything else that he's more famous for. But yeah, he got a Nobel Prize for a paper on the photoelectric effect. There was also something for like Brownian motion, I think, but clearly what it's talking about with solar panels is the photoelectric effect. Question 5. Marie Curie is well renowned for being the first person to win 2 Nobels and the discovery of 2 elements. So she notably discovered radium, which is named after its, radiation, and also polonium, which is named after her country of origin, Poland. So radium and polonium. And then question 6, the strong force is governed by a system called quantum chromodynamics, which describes a property called blank charge that isn't observable in nature, where each quark has one of 3 states of that type of charge. This type of charge was named based on a loose analogy to another system that can produce a variety of outcomes by combining 3 starting things. So what word fills in the blank? So I wasn't sure about this initially, but then I sort of read it again and was like, okay, a system that can produce a variety of outcomes by combining 3 starting things. What does that sound like? That sounds like colors, starting with red, blue, and yellow, and making things from there. And once I thought of that, I thought, okay, yeah, the phrase color charge does sound familiar to me. I wouldn't have been able to pull it cold, but with that extra clue, it was gettable. And honestly, I'm not sure what to enhance here because I kind of want to enhance 3, but I'm not sure that it's right. I feel like I might have messed it up. So I'd probably rather enhance something like 4 or 5. Maybe 5. Okay, I feel like 5 is not that easy. I'm gonna enhance 5. 3 just might be wrong. I don't feel good enough about it. All right, 490 is correct. Color, photoelectric, radium, polonium, dark matter cosmology. 6 out of 6 on the physics quiz. That was a really fun quiz, to be honest. I liked that a lot. I had a fun time sort of working through the question where I initially thought I'm not going to be able to get this because I don't know the equation that I need for this, and then I realized, wait, I can actually kind of just figure this out from what I know. So that was super fun, and then the other ones were challenging but gettable. So really enjoyed that as well. Gotta love it. And then finally, quiz number 7. Let's get rid of this guy. Quiz number 7, written by Rasmus, the quiz legend himself, who is always at the top of the leaderboards, or very close to the top of the leaderboards for these Quiz League weeks. He wrote a nice history quiz on on anniversaries generally. So 2018 was the 500th anniversary of a plague in the streets of Strasbourg. The main symptom of the plague was dancing. I learned this from a Salmonella video about mass hysteria, and it's a good video, and it's also just a funny thing to learn about. But people just started just dancing and not stopping, and then people just started joining them, and it became this huge thing where everyone was just dancing, and some people were literally dropping dead. So anyway, the dancing plague is a very fun piece of history. Question 2, 2019 was the 1111th anniversary of the end of what civilization's classic period, measured by the most recent date found on any long count dated monument. So the long count is the name for the Mayan calendar. That one that like famously ended like not that long ago, and everyone's like, oh, the world's going to end. Which, of course, it didn't. But yeah, the long count is the Mayan calendar. Question 3, 2020 was the 65th anniversary of a conference, creating what many consider the foundation of the non-aligned movement, seeking distance from the US-USSR bipolar world order. Often nicknamed the First Asian-African Conference, it was hosted in, formally takes its name from, which Javanese city? I believe this is Bandung. What did it try to... Okay. Anyway, I believe this is Bandung because, well, I was trying to think of Javanese cities. It was like Jakarta, Surabaya, etc. Bandung Conference, that phrase just rang a bell in my head. I'm not 100% sure this is a thing. Maybe I'm making it up, but I think I have heard of the Bandung Conference before. So, like, surely that's going to be the answer here. Question 4. 2021 was the 320th anniversary of the establishment of which empire that encompassed much of what is now Ghana, Togo, and the Ivory Coast. So this, I think, should be the Ashanti Empire. Again, I'm not sure. It could be like the Songhai or the... I mean, there's a couple other things that existed around there, but I did do a write-up recently on the Ashanti region of Ghana, so I was writing a lot about the Ashanti Empire, and I'm pretty sure this is what's being talked about here. And again, it's not a super old thing. Like, it was more of a thing in like the 1800s kind of thing, rather than like way older than that. So I think this also checks out because it says 320th anniversary. So should be the Ashanti Empire. Question 5. 2022 was the 350th anniversary of an incident where the people of the Netherlands ate their prime minister. Which prince, who would later become a Dutch king, was rumored to have ordered that glorious dinner? I have no idea. The only guess I have is William of Orange, because I know that he was the king of the Netherlands at some point, and I honestly cannot name another king of the Netherlands. So that's what I'm going with. And then finally, question 6. 2023 was the 410th anniversary of the first destruction of which geometrically named building. This is the famous Shakespearean Globe Theatre, which, yeah, I mean, it's the Globe Theatre is just a famous Shakespeare venue, basically. So, that is that, and I will enhance. I'm not sure, actually. Bandung might be guessable or knowable. Ashanti is probably knowable, especially because of the daily subdivision series that I do. Maya's too easy. Globe Theater's too easy. I think I'll enhance number 1, because I feel like I know that from a Salmonella video, but probably not a lot of people will have seen that same video, so I'll go with that, and we'll see how we do. Can't click that one, apparently. And, oh my goodness. Insane again. William of Orange was correct. It was a total stab in the dark. It's literally the only answer I had. That's 6 out of 6 again. That's crazy. Like, is this my best week so far? I'm not sure. It's close. It's definitely close. That is definitely one of the best weeks that I have had. Super, super fun set of quizzes. Enjoyed all these, particularly the somehow unique one I thought was really fun. Aside from that math question, which made me want to tear my hair out. And then the physics one is also really, really fun and satisfying. But they were all, I mean, they were all great, to be honest. Really enjoyed quiz 7 as well. Rest in peace, Rasmus, in 5th place because he got 0 on his own quiz. Unlucky. But anyway, super, super fun set of quizzes. Thank you to all 7 people who submitted these. And of course, again, to Looney and Benny for putting this all together and for the quizzes in the previous 4 weeks. But I will see you guys in a sec for my scores. And hopefully, I don't know if I'll be first, but I think I'll be pretty close. So stay tuned. Alrighty, results are in, and I finished second on the week, just 0.2 points behind Sawyer. But a super, super good week for me. I think I've scored over 40 like once before, but this is definitely one of the best weeks I've ever had. So that was pretty awesome. Just very happy overall. only scored below 5 on one of the quizzes, and was just quite consistent. Again, I'm worried that this consistency is not going to last because it feels like I'm playing above my potential, and I'm not sure why this is happening this season in particular. But I worry that the championship might destroy me, but we will see. But I don't know. It's like every time I'm like, next week, surely it won't go as well as this week, and then somehow it ends up going better. So, yeah, again, super, super fun set of quizzes. Really like these. And yeah, finished second on the week, 8th the week before, 3rd the week before that, 3rd the week before that, and 6th in week 1, which gives me a final season standing of 4th, which is very nice and also quite a bit higher than anyone below me, just below the 3 legends at the top, drafting coach Rasmus and Sawyer. So massive congrats to drafting coach Rasmus and Sawyer for making up the podium for week number 3. I'm definitely happy here with my 4th, and we will see what the championship brings and if I'm able to record it. But if not, one final thank you to everyone who played this week and every other week. 62 people so far in week 5, but yeah, thank you all for your participation. You are what makes this league possible, and of course Looney and Benny are also what makes this league possible. They are legends. They did such a good job, and they keep doing such a good job with all of this. Really excited to see what the championship has in store. But yeah, thanks to everybody for another fantastic season. Again, sorry that this is being uploaded kind of late. But I appreciate all your support, and I will see you again hopefully very soon for season number 4. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll see if there's a championship video. But if not, see you guys then. And yeah, it was a blast. All right, thanks everyone, and goodbye.